Hello everyone, and welcome to another Roll for Distraction Developer Showcase, our spin-off series where we play one-shots of TTRPGs brought to us by their designers. My name is Alex Vigna, producer here on the channel, and I am joined here today by my friends Sebastian and Quinn, who you can find links to in the description. Real quick before I turn it over to our guest GM, if it's your first time here, be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch our other actual plays right here on this same channel. We've played lots of different systems, so there should be something for everyone, and drop a like and a comment to help out the channel. And now I'd like to welcome today's GM, Laurie Blake from Stop, Drop, and Roll, to run a one-shot of their game, Why We Fight. Laurie, I'll turn it over to you now. Introduce yourself to the people, tell us a little bit about the game we're playing today, and get us rolling.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. So Why We Fight is a solo plus narrative TTRPG where we are playing crews of eco-punks that are looking to fight back against fascism in the sort of post-apocalypse, where we're looking to build a brighter, greener future that allows everyone to thrive in their own way. So generally that means we'll be kind of going out and traveling as our crews, reclaiming nature, pushing back against any perceived threats that we come across, and trying to just make the world better as we go. All of this whilst we're traveling on a mission to, in some cases, push back the White Fist, who are trying to take over the land, or otherwise just kind of trying to, I suppose, make some sort of area better in some way. It depends on the mission, but that is about the gist of it. My understanding of it is we have all built our crews. So if what we'll do next is set up our mission journal and decide what it is we're going to go and do and where it is we're going to be traveling through, then after that point, we'll introduce our crews, learn who it is we're traveling with, and set off on our adventure. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. So the first thing that we do now that we've made our crews is we do indeed make our mission journal. We decide what mission we're going off of. So if people want to jump to page 8 in order to be looking at the same thing I am, I'm thinking what we might do is the Assault a Fuel Depot mission. You'll see it in the PDF. It's mission 4. And this is basically where we're going to be going and taking on a fuel refinery and looking to stop it from pumping out all its oil and all the rest of it. I'm going to note that down in our mission journal, so I'll scroll right to the bottom. So with that in mind, we next decide how far we're going to be going. Since this is going to be a relatively short one-shot session, I'm going to do a single situation that we come across, followed by the mission itself. So in that case, we are adding 2 of these little arrows. So we know that we're going to be traveling through 2 different areas on our way towards our mission. And then last of all, we discover by rolling dice where we're going to be traveling through in order to get there. So who would like to do the first roll?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So roll me a d6.
That's a 3.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to be starting out by traveling our way down the motorway. And so once we've moved through the motorway, we will be moving to Alex, do you want to do the next roll?
Sure. Let's see. That's a 6.
That is the one below. So in this case, we'll be moving off the motorway and into wilderness. So, okay. So we now know where we're going. We know where we're traveling through. And as we move along, we'll discover situations on our journey and decide how to approach them. Yeah, the next step basically is, before we set off, we are going to be introducing our crews to each other and learning who it is that we travel with. So I'll start. My crew they know themselves as the route-arounds. They normally are sent on scavenging runs, but this crew are kind of quite excited to get out there and hit back at the White Fist for a change, rather than just sort of scavenging for supplies. But they're used to getting their hands dirty. So as a core part of the group, we have Pamela Priestley. She has boisterous movements and a motherly air, and has the specialty of awareness. So she's very much able to kind of like spot things before they are a problem or anything like that. And her personality discovery is my kids won't be the only ones getting a better world. So that's my first character. The second one is Kenji Toriyama, and they have the specialty of morale. They tend to wear pastel-coloured clothes and have far, far too many accessories. Then we have Nina Myers. They are extremely good at scavenging, and they have tied-up bushy hair and often have a skeptical look about them. And then finally we have Rafael Lucero. He is excellent with machines, has technical as his specialty, and is a bit older than the rest of the crew. He's balding with grease-stained overalls. So that's my crew. Crews always start relatively sort of slimmed down from the beginning, but we'll be building them up as we travel. So, Alex, why don't you introduce your crew?
Sure. So I named the crew Team Fireball. The idea being that they were, much like many of my real-life friends, just a group of TTRPG players who felt that they had to get involved. And what do you call it? The main leader, I suppose you would say, of the group is a guy who just now just goes by Dr. Jack. No longer uses his last name. Still wears his white doctor's coat, just so people recognize that he, is someone who can help if they need medical assistance. I'll come back around to the personality thing. And then his three friends, Vanessa, Paul, and Dell, and together they are good at medical stuff, camouflage, navigation, and electrical work. And so Dr. Jack's personality discovery is that, he's a doctor, so he took an oath not to do harm and to help people. But his family is very prominent in the world of the enemy, in their political world, and they wanted him to be not so good. And so he has sort of disavowed his family, and he's now in the fight, as it were. Sebastian's next, I suppose?
Yep. Okay, so my crew is called The Jumble. It's because they took a survival skills class together and became friends through that. The name came about because they were learning to do self-defense, and one of them tripped into the others and they caused a big pile-up, so they're called The Jumble now because they thought it was funny. My characters are Marty G, who is he, him. He's good at scavenging, and he has tired eyes and bitten nails. Vera Yasan is she, her, and she has awareness as her specialty, and she's covered in piercings with a leather jacket, bit of a punk look to her. Moss is they, them, they're a tactics specialist. They have too many accessories and always has their nose in a book, and they are here because they have a crush on Duke Ivan, who's the next character, and Duke joined up, and Moss was like, well, looks like a cool thing, I think Duke's cool, I'm gonna follow them to do that. So Duke's specialty is chemistry and has an aloof nature, and they're always fiddling.
Brilliant.
I think that just leaves me. So I will go next.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, my group is the Pride Posse. They were all in the same queer club at college, and so they know each other a little bit. They have a little bit of background with each other, and then had just graduated, got out of college, into the world, and decided they were going to be roommates, and then everything in the world sort of fell apart, so now they're here. The first roommates. One... yeah. We'll see where that goes as we move along through the game. First member of the group is Ash Mason, who also goes by her drag king name sometimes, which is Ryder Strong. Her specialty is in morale, and she has a cocky swagger and is always dressed in just incredibly fashionable clothes. Her personality discovery reason for being here is that there's so much beauty in the world and the people around me, and that's always worth fighting for. Next on my list is Valentina or Val Harper. She, her, a trans woman who is a very, very big buff. Her specialty is athletics. And she has a toned physique and restless movements. Next on my list is Sol Flores. They, he, Z pronouns. Specialty is technical. And they use a cane and have dyed green hair. And finally, last member of my team is Danny Price, they, them. Their specialty is in command. And they always wear their bomber jacket, and they have not dyed hair, just normal red hair that is tied back in a long ponytail.
Excellent. Okay. So we know who our crews are. We know where we're going and what we're doing. So as we sort of start heading off, we go onto this motorway. We start traveling along it and looking out at the world around us. We discover a particular element of this, something that stands out to us, and something about the changing world that we come across. So who was it who hasn't rolled yet? Someone hasn't rolled. I've forgotten who it is.
I haven't rolled, and I got my dice right here.
All right, it's your turn then. Let's
ready,
do it.
yeah.
Roll me a d6. Let's see what happens.
5.
Okay, so we're traveling along. This is pretty relevant, really, and I think the smell hits us before we see it, really, as we come across a food truck parade that travels between communities, cooking fresh food as it goes. So from here, we sort of build on this discovery. We talk about how our crews react to this, and in general, we determine not only like how we sort of interact with it, but also a personality discovery from one of our crew that we then add to one of their little sheets. So normally you would have 4 slips of paper in front of you and you just jot it down on there, but since we're using a digital one, then we'll add it on once we create them. But yeah, so feel free to take a second and have a think about it. I'm happy to go first. So we have a think about in what way our crews react to discovering this food truck parade that's traveling along, cooking fresh food for anyone who comes across them, and the various different communities that they come to, and in what way we kind of sort of interact with them.
I was gonna say, why don't we have you go first? Show us how it's done, right? Part of the show is showing off how the system works, so you know better than anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. So this is relatively, narrative to begin with. It's not necessarily a situation quite yet. So I'm going to say that I've got Nina Myers here. They're particularly good at scavenging. They're used to sort of like rooting around and trying to find things of worth. And I think discovering this so early on, sort of used to being willing to kind of take whatever they can find on the most part. I think this is something that sort of stands out to her, and they sort of step up and are just like, oh, all right, well, this is going to be a good mission, folks. We've found this food truck. Then we're going to get to restock all our supplies. We're going to be able to have some actual decent meals for a change. This is my kind of mission. So they kind of rush forward, start sort of getting involved with the various sort of meal tables and stuff like that, seeing if what kind of different types of food there are on offer, and just kind of dives in, just kind of really gets in on it. And I'm going to add the personality discovery of in a world where you take what you can get, the best surprise is abundance.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that I'll take Marty because he also has scavenging as a specialty, but I think that he's going to come at it from I want to see what they have, so then I can learn if this is something that I can make in the event that I'm ever out somewhere that doesn't have food easily accessible. So I think that he'll go up to them and just kind of look for the thing that has the fewest, simplest ingredients, but that tastes the best. And so I think that he will, go through, try a whole bunch of things, bring it back to the crews, and share it, get everyone's opinion, and and also at the same time feel good about it because it's supporting a kind of smaller endeavor that's a community-focused initiative. And I think I'll add the personality discovery of, I'm resourceful and I'm always looking for ways to use what I can find to make the best of it, like if that is a valid one.
Yeah, feel free to word it however
I'm going to rephrase it a bit when I write it down, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah. So Quinn or Alex, what's going on with your crews?
I was going to go with Paul, who has the navigation specialty. And I figured he would sort of go around and talk to the various drivers and crews of these trucks and talk to them about hardships on the road and any obstacles that we might be facing going the opposite way of them. and just try to get a sort of better lay of the land as we venture into potentially unfamiliar territory. The discovery for that, I think, is that, likewise, I'll figure out how to word it as we go, but basically that he prefers to learn by talking to other people rather than just digging around on his own. And he values the sort of community aspect of that.
Great stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the community aspect of it too. I've got Soul, whose specialty is technical, and I think that he would probably be like going up to the trucks and seeing if anyone there needs any help. Like, they are here to offer help to us, but in the like reciprocal nature of community, going up to them. And do any trucks need repairs? Is anything inside broken? Again, they're very handy, very good at fixing things without having a lot to fix it with. So even without like having a lot of the tools, just going and being like, what's on hand? What do we have? What do we need? And is there anything I can do to, have this reciprocal back and forth exchange that we can do to help each other? And I think the discovery from that, and I'll also probably reword this a little bit, but just something about, reciprocal care is how we grow and how we're going to survive this.
All right, so once everyone's happy with, they've written their personality discoveries down, they've got the wording right and everything else, we know how we're sort of interacting with things. The next element of this is we determine what situation arises in amongst everything. So the next page that you'll be looking at is page 12. And we'll be rolling on the table and discovering what situation emerges in amongst everything. So I'm not going to do this until everyone's happy and ready. So just shout out when you are.
I'm set.
I'm good.
Yeah, also good.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to roll. I have rolled 3. So okay, so the one that's come up is a destructive logging camp. So perhaps this is something that is, perhaps this is something that we hear from the food truck people, or perhaps it's something that is happening relatively nearby. It could well be that they have stopped because because they've seen it up ahead and are nervous about going close to it, whilst they don't want to maybe antagonize the White Fist or whatever else. But either way, we find out from this community that somewhere nearby there is, in fact, a copse of forest. It's a pretty vital wildlife corridor once upon a time, but now it's got smoke coming out of it. There's a number of sort of tracks coming off of the motorway into this clearing, and you can sort of, as they sort of point in the direction, you can kind of smell the acrid smell of burnt detritus in the air, and you're gonna follow it on. You're like, okay, well, look, we'll go and check it out. We'll have a look for you and see what can be done about this. So it's going to be on our way anyway. So it's pretty good roll, to be honest, given that we're going to be traveling from the motorway into wilderness. So I'd say that's
there's a
pretty
theme here.
Fortuitous. Absolutely. So we carry on ahead. And sure enough, there is this, there's this logging camp that's kind of been set up, and they're chopping down everything. And this area is pretty important to sort of the biodiversity, and we don't necessarily want it to just go along unfettered, because if there's one thing that the White Fist do not care about, it is basically anything that isn't their own game. So as a result, we kind of want to try and stop them if we can. Because this is our quick play scenario, scenarios tend to either be peaceful or combat driven. In this case, it is determined that we need to sort of step in and actually deal with it, as opposed to, say, our core book, where you would determine your own approach and deal with it in a number of different ways. So in this case, we'll be setting up for a small combat scenario, and I'll lead you through it. So there's basically the step that we're looking for is the second one that I'm just on here, and what we do is we determine the combined difficulty for all crews. So this is a kind of balancing factor, so that no matter how many crews you're playing with, you kind of have an encounter that's going to be more relevant to your side. So
it scales to... That's clever.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we do is we say we have 1 per crew member and then +1 per personality or hardship discovery. So in this case, because we haven't sort of had any hardships come up yet or anything like that, we know that each of us are going to have 6 in total. So 4 characters +2 personality discoveries. And since there are 4 of us, I completely forgot to do the time period. That's something that it's funny actually, we pretty much just updated the book to make this a little bit more front and center so it doesn't get forgotten. But we also are supposed to be, and you're using the current book that's available on the site. So that's why we're sort of, it's not as pristine as it would be, but we're always looking to make the game that bit tighter, that bit more effective. So in this case, we were supposed to decide what time of day we set off. So let's determine that now. So what sort of time do we think we're going to set off? When would we like to arrive at this fuel refinery? Are we looking to arrive there sort of at night when we're going to be able to be more undercover and we're going to try and be more stealthy about it? Are we looking to arrive sort of in the morning or evening or anything else like that, so that way we can kind of, since there's only 2 time chunks, as it were, of travel, we'll sort of be able to extrapolate backwards. So what do we think? How would our crews approach this? Are we looking for something more stealthy, or are we looking for something that sort of benefits our ability to be aware of things?
I usually vote stealth when given the option. I don't know how you folks feel about it, but...
Yeah, you see, so I think that Moss from my crew would also think stealth, but the rest of them, they're called the Jumble. They took a bunch of survival skills classes. They want to, they want a fight, and so they think, actually, if we go in there at like midday, then that's where everyone will be there, so we can take them all out. So, yeah. But if it's going to be a vote situation, then probably stealth will win out if that's what everybody wants.
I think we all kind of thought something a little bit different. I was thinking if we maybe travel at night and we have the stealth for our traveling, and then we would arrive there at early morning, so they're kind of just
we attack
starting
at dawn.
Their day. Yeah, attack at dawn. So I think it's something we're all kind of vaguely in the something stealthy-ish.
Okay. Well, it sounds like as a sort of balance between the two. So we've got that kind of
good with that.
Where we start out stealthy and then move into a kind of more, good morning.
And if we're smart about it, we can have the sun at our back, so it's in their eyes, and
There you go, exactly. So okay, so we're gonna say that we set out at night, and I suppose that's another reason why this camp of food trucks has sort of paused here then, because they've stopped, they're cooking up a meal for everyone, sort of that sort of nighttime final sort of.
Yeah, we grabbed dinner.
Dinner, absolutely. So +1 to camouflage rolls and command. Okay.
I promise I'm not min-maxing, I'm not power gaming the story game. I do have camo though.
That's okay, it'll be helpful here.
I have command, so.
Yeah.
Brilliant. This forest area, it could well be that they're well aware, this logging camp, they're well aware that if they're too open about this, then they're going to draw the ire of nearby communities and such like that. So it could be this operation is going on at night in order to kind of cover it up a little bit more. So we're here. We're checking out the situation as we approach it, and the last kind of part is we write the name of our crews. So we all start hidden, and what that means is they don't necessarily know that we're here, but we are the underdogs. In this game, we don't have the kind of, there are more of us potentially, but nonetheless, we don't have military equipment, we don't have loads of armor or anything like that. And what you'll probably be able to tell is that you have this little box at the end of our character sheets that is are you hit? And currently everyone is not hit. But an important thing to remember is if for any reason you are hit, if that person is hit a second time, they are dead. There isn't anything more to sort of say about it. It's just, we are
2
relatively
HP.
squishy. We need to. Yeah. That's it. It's exactly it. And if if we're not careful, then like folks can go down. So that's important to bear in mind. And as an important part of the sort of mechanics of it is that whoever is at the top of your crew. So, for example, if you mouse over it, you can kind of drag individual folks up and down your crew list. So whoever leads a move, they go to the top of your crew. Whoever is at the top of your crew, because they've led a move, they are therefore the most vulnerable. So in situations where they would take a hit, it is that person at the top who takes a hit. So if things go wrong, or if you're a little bit too kind of, I suppose, risky with your actions and such, then you're going to start being like, okay, well, I don't want to put Nina up front, because if Nina leads a move, then she's already been hit. I don't want to risk her and everything like that.
Right.
And so therefore, the strategy within your own crew starts to become, and their specialties and what they're good at becomes somewhat more limited. So it's something to bear in mind. Your people are just people in this situation. They can't take very much. You've got to be careful with how you push them forward, and the more we learn about them, the more connected we become to them, and they're important to us. They're part of our crew.
So what happens if, I don't know, things go really badly and your whole crew dies?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the end of your story. We haven't really had
fair
it
enough.
happen. Yeah. We have had people die. But the thing is that one of your actions is you get the choice to turn around and run. So generally speaking, rather than losing your whole crew, if things get too hot, if things are going bad, most of the time people care enough about their crews to just go, you know what, I don't want to, this is not worth it, I'm out of here.
For sure.
Run, which is entirely fair enough. So, at the end of the day, you're a band of folks who are desperately trying to make positive change in the world, and quite naturally, if one of your friends go down, you lose the will to fight, and fair enough. Better to go on and survive another day.
Can't fix anything
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
dead.
That makes sense, because I think my crew are willing to risk their lives for this, but also if one of them dies, they will go back and regroup. Yeah.
Not all at once. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And most of the time, what we've sort of found is that once several people get hit, most of the time players will go, I really don't want my people to die. I think, well, I'm just going to leave now while I still can. And that is fair. Like, ultimately, as a game that is very much centered around the idea of getting to know our characters, of getting to build them as we go, it's more than just a case of like, oh no, my hit points are low. It's a case of, oh god, I don't want to risk this. These are people I care about.
Yeah.
And right, with this in mind, we've got this set up. We'll now want to jump to page 17. This is the building combat situations page. The first step on this is make sure your necessary details are written down on your situation page. I've done that for us, so that's great. The next step is where we decide on some local area discoveries. So this is what we're aware of in the world around us, things that we could make use of, things we could take advantage of. So what that means is that we're basically, each of us creates a local area discovery, and we'll be drawing from the motorway one. We can roll on it, or we can make up our own. So and each of us adds one. I'll go first. So we're on the motorway.
We're all rolling for this. Okay.
We don't have to roll. We can also make it up. So we can
Gotcha.
create our own that we feel is relevant. They're just descriptors that we're able to use as a part of our narrative springboards in a way.
Gotcha.
That also give us extra dice and things like that. So they're very important, but nonetheless, they're very much about building the scene with them. So in this case, I'm going to give the example of, actually, to be honest, I think given that we're moving from the motorway into the edges of this wilderness where they've kind of cut a path through into, I think barriers along the edges sounds about right. So those kind of highway barriers, the crash barriers, I'm I'm going to say there's a collection of them. So,
I was going to say not abandoned vehicles per se. That's the example in the book. But just like they have an excess of their heavy construction vehicles, their logging vehicles, their dump trucks and such. They're not abandoned literally, but there's more than can be crewed by them.
I mean, I like the scattered safety glass fragments. Those are fun. From the table.
You want to add that one?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Okay, and last but not least.
I don't know, I mean, I was thinking I know we're doing it like the motorway, but we're kind of on the edge of the wilderness as well. I mean, if it's a logging place, just like they're piles of logs, like trees that they've already cut down, but I imagine in like the big stack that you can like potentially get to tip over and roll onto things.
Classic,
They've got that's what I was thinking of.
Giant stacks of logs. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, the log pyramid where you just cut the rope.
Yeah, the pyramid, exactly, and then woo, they all go falling,
Fantastic. Excellent. So, we've come up with our local area discoveries. We know what we have around us that we potentially could take advantage of. The last step of building a combat is where we choose our enemies. So on page 18, we have a whole list of potential enemies that might be coming across. And an important thing is that in our situation, it already says, just jump back to it. It says that we start with a certain number of enemies. So in this case, we have 1 flamer for every 8 difficulty. We are starting, and these aren't added, but these are like already there. So they don't take away from the difficulty we have, but we are nonetheless can be adding on top of them. So we start with a flame. But we start with 2. So
I just gotta say I love that the special ability of the flamethrower person is called whoosh.
Absolutely.
I mean, what else are you gonna call it? You know.
Right. So the way that this works. So with Why We Fight, we generally tend to alternate with all of our things. So for example, you can't use the same character twice. You can't pick the same enemy type twice in a row. So that means that when we choose an enemy, we're going to be choosing, say for example, a trooper. The next one can't be another trooper. Okay. With this in mind, I'm going to quickly explain the kind of basics of how enemies interact, and that is basically that for every you can see a little example of this on page 20 in combat basics. But basically, for every enemy that you have within an enemy type, so for example, there are 2 flamers there, you can see how I've added them. I've got one that is 4 and the second that is 8, and that's because they combine. So in this case, in order to target these flamers, our difficulty in trying to defeat one will be taking 8 away from our roll. If we do defeat one, because they're not ganging together, because they're not working together as a group, now the difficulty is just 4. Okay, so as we add more, let's say they get some backup or something and 2 more arrive or something along those lines, all of a sudden the difficulty to deal with 4 flamers working together as a group becomes 12. So they effectively, the more of them there are, the more that are working together, the more dangerous they become. Just the same as we are. Okay? So this is what's called in the game a fight rating. We also have our own fight rating. Each crew has 4 because it's 1 for each character. And that means that any takedown attempt will be all of your crew attempting to overcome an enemy type of some description. So in this case, we've got our flamers, and these 2 flamers together, we need to be able to overcome a difficulty of 8, but we already add our 4 on. So it's easier than it looks, but it's nonetheless working together, helping each other out, and adding various effects and other stuff like that can really turn the tide. With this in mind, every single enemy type that we add, so let's say for example we do add a trooper, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just to show you, that each different type that there is adds a minimum fight rating. So that means that the more types there are, the more dangerous all of them are at a minimum. the more of an individual type, the more dangerous they are as a single group. So we kind of want to try and balance it out where we can. There are examples of this within the book on combat basics. You're welcome to go and have a quick look and review it. But nonetheless, that's effectively the gist of it. The more there are in a group, the stronger that group is. The more of them there are as a whole in different types, the stronger all of their minimum level becomes. So it balances itself out. Any questions before we pick some troopers, or trick some enemies rather?
None so far. I think it'll all make sense once we get going.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense as well. I'm definitely going to have to be like, wait, sorry, what difficulty was this again? But that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, first time playing the game
okay.
is what it is, but yeah.
Yep. It is much simpler in practice than it is to try and explain, mainly because it's like this number and this number minus and it's just like what? But with context, it's pretty simple.
That's how most games work.
So
yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so as a result, rather than worrying too much about like trying to game the system per se, pick some stuff that you're like, yeah, I think this would be here. Why not? Just stick that in. So have a look on the Choose Your Enemies list and start picking something. So I'll start us off. I will pick a trooper. So the next one can't be a trooper, but it can be anything else.
I think Riot Breaker would make a good addition, because you know how like establishments always have like, the cops show up to protect property but not people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like protests around cutting trees down are very common, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say there probably would be a couple of hostile civilian types who are like the actual people running the equipment and not soldier types who are just guarding the equipment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So we'll add one for now, but we can add more.
There'd at least be like a foreman of some sort overseeing kind of thing.
So hostile civilians are an interesting one because unlike the other types, they're not explicitly, say, military personnel per se. And so as a result, it's generally seen amongst the Community Alliance as you don't want to be the sort of people going around hitting on people who aren't even armed, who haven't even picked up guns or anything in order to do this. That doesn't mean that they don't attack you. Doesn't mean that they're not willing to sort of stand up for what they're trying to do here. But it does mean that if for any reason you do actually kill one, as opposed to knocking one out or otherwise, so if you're using any military equipment you get or anything like that, if you actually kill one, then you will take an emotionally overwhelmed consequence. This doesn't go away until you're soothed, and it's kind of it's a thing.
Makes sense.
We're not the sort of people that go around just killing civilians. That's not who we are. So something to bear in mind.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at the list. I don't know. I think maybe I might add another trooper. I feel like it makes sense that there would be more than one of that, because they're kind of the not super high up
the rank and file
in their combat, but they're just it feels like there would just be a handful of them. So I think adding another one.
Okay, so so that's another trooper. So we're up to 8 now. We need to reach 24.
Oh gosh.
All right, keep going. I mean, an officer, right? Somebody's in charge.
I was just thinking that there's probably at least one.
An important thing to recognize is that an officer's special ability is they make it means that your enemy's turn happens a little bit quicker. So every time we take an action, we add a tally, and every time that tally hits the 5th one, they get their turn, and they do depending on whoever is the highest ranking one, their special ability triggers a number of times and things like that. An officer, because there is someone actually coordinating them, means that happens on the 4th action instead of the 5th. Okay, so happy to add it, but just making sure you understand.
Let's go for it. I mean, let's see it. Like you said, we can run away.
All right. Absolutely, 100%. So, all right. So, the officer only gets 1 as its actual defense value as well, because, like I said, rank not wrath. They're not here to fight. They're here to lead. So,
can we have an auto turret? Just because I feel like, I feel like one of those kind of hidden in the woods would be I mean, I don't think my crew knows about that, to be honest. I think it could be fun as a surprise.
Okay, all right, we can certainly go there.
Yeah, can they have a tank?
Yeah, all right. So,
I was thinking maybe another. I know we already have some thrown into the situation, but another one of the flamers, just because I feel like it. I don't know. There's something just like that makes sense about their attitude. That like, yeah, we're surrounded by forest and trees, and we all have flamethrowers.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And just the
Absolutely.
casual
Okay, I would love
disrespect
to.
for. Like, oh yeah, we could just light the whole forest on fire. We don't care.
yeah. Oh no, actually, I was about to say that will take us to 22, but actually we're going to 24, so that's fine. So.
Well, in that case, we could add. We could add a couple more.
Just like another civilian.
I was going to say civilians, yeah, because they probably have a workforce, and these, these people who are probably actually not being paid enough to deal with this.
Even if it's mostly
to deal with
automated,
us,
there'd be people at the controls. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've set up our combat scenario. We know what we're dealing with. We're sneaking through the undergrowth. We're looking at this scenario before we actually choose to do anything. And this is kind of what we spot. This is what we discover we're dealing with. And it's important to note that everything has a minimum fight rating of 5. That means even the ones where it's like the troopers together make a total of 4, or the riot trooper on their own, that's 3. These now count as 5, just because they're all working together as a group. They all back each other up. So regardless of what happens, you've got a minimum of that level. As we take down an entire row, so for example, if we were to take out the riot trooper, that would then drop to 4. If we were to take out another row, that would then drop to 3, and so on. So the more of them there are, the harder they are to overcome. But by being careful and by deciding what we do and relative tactical decisions, we're able to kind of whittle this down and try and actually make something we can handle before we get revealed and it all goes horribly wrong. Of course, because we are dealing with dice rolls, sometimes it all goes horribly wrong before we get the chance. But nonetheless, it should be good fun. We have a number of different local area discoveries we can make use of. We have our people and their various specialties. And of course, the most important thing is that in this game, each of our characters, or some of our characters, have personality discoveries. And we can tap these personality discoveries in order to give ourselves advantage. So if we're doing something that we feel is really important or aligns with what the characters feel are important, then we in turn are able to tap that and roll 3 dice instead of 2. And of course, the last thing, the most important thing, so to speak, is we can also coordinate, where instead of just one group trying to do something, instead 2 groups gang up together, attempt to accomplish it together. But if it does go wrong, both of you take consequences instead of just one. If we jump to Combat Quick Reference, which is page 23, we're able to see that our actions are broken down into 3 types. We have Make an Impact, which is generally about actually taking things down, or making use of the environment around us. We have Set Something Up, which is where you're looking to sort of check out the world around you or make use of stuff around you in order to make a difference. And we have Apply an Effect. And the effect list is just the page above it on page 22. But effectively what you're doing is you're sort of choosing a type of outcome and applying it to an enemy type or yourself. I'm more than happy for you to describe what you're trying to do, and I will help you sort of pick the effect that would do that, if that's what you'd rather. Since obviously normally in a non-recorded situation, we'd have the time to kind of look over it properly. In this case, it's probably quicker and easier if I just give you a hand. There is one thing as well which we have since fixed, but nonetheless, I've noticed that Patch Up has a Make an Impact icon. It should actually be Set Something Up. Not sure how that happens, but nonetheless, there it is. So, with this in mind, I will take the first turn, but I'm more than happy to discuss, folks, about how we want to approach this particular situation. So,
yeah, I definitely feel like we're outnumbered, so we need to do some kind of setting up of some sort of divide and conquer of the enemy somehow.
That makes sense. So let's take, for example, so we've got our local area discoveries. There's a few ways we can use this. We can either just outright delete one in order to give ourselves advantage on a type of action, and determine how it is we're using that thing in order to make it particularly advantageous. Or alternatively, we can get creative. So by with the set something up action, we can get creative, and that allows us to combine one of these discoveries to another one, or just with your specialty. And you're able to sort of say, okay, I want this thing, when I do make use of it, to have a greater effect than it would before. So I'm going to do that just as a show of how that might be used. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, we've got the larking vehicles and things like that. I'm going to try and do the get creative action. Let's say if I use the vanish effect and the stunned effect by basically trying to creep up, and when we activate it, we sort of like put the hazard, like the big sort of front beams of one of these trucks on, and just, blind them all. They can't see past it because it's too bright. They're stunned by the impact of the light, and so as a result, like when we make use of this as an advantage, these effects also apply to them. So I will say, so we've got logging vehicles, and I will turn those into
blinding headlights.
And they are going to do stunned and vanish. And what this means is that they'll be too distracted by this, because the vanish one, when applied to a crew, means that a loud action counts as a quiet one, and stunned means their next, when it's their turn, they won't get counted. So hopefully when we do something big, we'll be able to use that to kind of keep ourselves, they don't understand what the hell's going on, everything goes bright, and they don't even notice when something, whatever it is we're doing, something happens. So so I've set that up. I'm going to roll to see that it actually happens. I've realized. So trying to make an example of it and don't even roll for it. So all right, so I have rolled, so I've got 5 and 3, so that makes a total of 8. I realized I haven't actually explained the dice resolution system. It's pretty simple. Anything that is a 6 or higher will count as you succeeding at what you're trying to do. Anything that is lower than a 10 will mean that you take a consequence. So this means anything that's like 5 or less, you just take a consequence. But in this case, because I've rolled an 8, effectively I still do take a consequence. I have to choose from the consequence list, but I do at least succeed at what I'm trying to do. So in this case, I do manage to set up the those lights. They're ready to kind of go. I'm there. I've managed to sort of get inside. I'm ready with the switch, and then I have to take a consequence. So something has happened, and I have to decide what. So on page 24, just the one below the main combat page, is our list of consequences. We have become revealed, where things start going loud. They know we're here. Something happens. An accident occurs where one of my characters is hit, but it's due to some unfortunate incident. Emotionally overwhelmed, where something has freaked out one of our characters for some reason, or in some way they are very emotionally overwhelmed. And then finally create a hardship, where you are looking to sort of create a personality discovery, but it's kind of a negative one. So it's like something that these characters struggle with, something that they are like, oh no, it turns out that this person has a terrible fear of spiders, and so as a result, they have this all comes about because they have to be sort of like quickly shushed by their crewmates when they discover one in the cabin of this, in the cabin of this vehicle, and now we know they have this difficulty, and they're impacted by the fact that it's become evident. So it's so you create one, you add it to your sheet. This is something that stays there, and it's another facet to your character that you've made as a result. So Yeah, to be honest, I might just go with that.
I mean,
just as
you
an
told
example.
a whole story there. You might as well
I will
use
take...
it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I may as well use it. So we'll say that they're sort of creeping up. They're climbing into the vehicle. They're sort of like fishing around for the sort of lights and such like that, making sure that they know which buttons they're going to press when they're going to sort of get the signal from the other crews. And then I'm going to say that Kenji, with all his sort of accessories and such, they're sort of in there and they're sort of trying to figure out what's going on. And then like a spider crawls out from underneath the steering wheel and onto their hand. There's this flurry as they're just and they have to be quickly sort of shushed by their crewmates, and I'll add the hardship of arachnophobic. We have a hardship. This adds a -1 to any action that they're leading. In this case, Nina was leading this one, so I'm adding it to Kenji because I feel like it's the most accurate. So that's the end of my turn. I achieved what I'm trying to do, but I've taken a consequence. It's pretty much as straightforward as that. So whatever it is that you want to do next, you could hypothetically make use of the thing that I have set up in order to give yourself not only the cover of this sudden burst, but also the extra benefit of them being stunned.
I think my idea will likely draw some attention. I think it's pretty obvious when I set up in the environment what my direction is.
If you weren't going to say it,
going.
I was. Please, go ahead.
Yeah. I was hoping to kind of try and combine it with someone else where we set it up so that based on where the logs are, I don't know how much damage the logs are going to do to someone, but they would force everyone to move away from them. In trying to get away from the logs, they could back up to where I was particularly thinking about the civilians since we want to knock them out, not kill them. If we could try and get
scare
them like
off or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, like either scared off or like backed away into where another crew is waiting to just like bonk them on the head really quickly and fast and knock them out.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Okay, so there's a couple of things we can do with this. One of the effects I think that makes most sense is the scattered effect. And that basically means that they're like, instead of acting as a single unit, they're split up into groups or like into individuals. So if we're going to make the most use of that, I'd probably say you're best off targeting the flamers, because then each of them is knocked down to 4 instead of 12. That makes sense, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're successful, then you'll add scattered onto the giant stacks of logs, but then what else could this achieve? So let's say, hypothetically, there's something else that's happening. You've already got one positioning effect. So what other type of effect would you have? So let's say we've got distracted, we've got intimidated, or alternatively we've got the elemental tree at the bottom here. So you could, for example, have someone fall down slipping in the mud and get wet.
It would be very good if the flamethrower people got all wet.
It would, yeah.
Okay.
It could be puddles.
Yeah, I think scattered and wet sounds interesting.
Scattered and wet.
All right, so you're going to want to roll your dice. You're rolling 2d6 unless you want to add a personality discovery. So choose who it is who's leading the action, and then based on that, roll those 2d6 or 3 if you're adding something.
Do we add another d6 for specialties? I don't think I have one that applies. I'm just
not.
Okay.
Just for personality discovery.
I mean, you could make a case that the beauty in the world one is applicable.
Yeah.
These people are trying to cut down the woods.
Yeah. That's the one I was thinking for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that lets me roll all 3 7.
Yeah, very lucky that you rolled 3, really. The good news is that you succeed at what you're doing. The bad news, of course, is something goes wrong. Something means that you take a consequence.
As much as I don't want any of my people to be hurt, the thing I was thinking that makes the most sense would be an accident. In that trying to cut the logs, like I'm hoping they all roll away from me and towards the enemy, but that like 1 or 2 of them accidentally roll back and roll like onto me and my yeah, like not a major injury, but enough that Ash has to like dive and duck out of the way and maybe like falls in the mud herself and her leg gets rolled over by one of the logs or something and is gonna be fine, but takes an unintentional injury, so being hit by the environment as opposed to being hit by an enemy.
Okay, cool. So you'll want to apply the hit status to Ash. There we go, and that's it. Okay, so we know what's happened there. You've managed to set it up, but you've had this accident happen. So whilst this is going on, we have some other folks, or potentially immediately after, the next crew takes advantage of it. So, or not necessarily, but does something. So who would like to go next?
I can go.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to use Duke Ivan, my chemist. I also want to do some setup. I'd like to take that scattered glass on the road, and given that we don't have any weapons, they know how to make things explode. So can I fashion some kind of really awful, spontaneous explosive that includes glass?
Terrifying, but yes.
Okay. What would I be rolling for that?
Okay, so in much the same way as the others, you're getting creative with what you have to hand. So as a result, you are rolling 2d6 or potentially 3 if you're adding a personality.
Sadly, I don't
discovery.
have one for them, but I'm happy to roll the 2d6. That's a 10.
Oh, well
There
then,
you go.
there's
10 flat.
Clearly, Duke has done this before.
Honestly, I think that Duke just kind of like sees a scattered glass and is just like kind of does a kind of cheeky smile. And is just like, yeah, like.
Fantastic. Okay, so we will want to determine what it is you're doing with this. So we're adding effects. So we have options such as let's see here. So we could have, for example, distracted. We could also have things like downed. It really depends on how you're imagining this. What is it that happens when this goes off?
It's definitely designed to incapacitate them from doing whatever it is that they're trying to do to us. Also, I would like it to be scattered is also good in the sense that like my stuff is supposed to scatter.
They could be intimidated even.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, honestly, if someone like
that's true.
threw exploding, glass grenades at me, I'd be like, oh shit, like we're kind of fucked. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we can add intimidated. And what other one do you want to go for? Do you also want to go with scattered?
I'll take intimidated and scattered then.
Okay, fantastic. So, so we have a lot of things set up.
Yeah.
We're sort of rolling around in the dirt, basically trying to make all kinds of things that are really going to sort of make this a sort of slam dunk when we finally go loud. So, right, Alex, you're the last one.
Yeah,
Let's
so
see
I'm
what
thinking
you're doing.
perhaps amidst all this chaos, we could maybe, would it be appropriate to make it like a more direct strike at this point?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to. In fact, you could, if you wanted, use one of the things that's set up in order to facilitate
Right.
that.
I'm thinking if one of the units is scattered away from their others, that would be easier to, have them just kind of bump into us, either using just the trees as cover to, execute a melee ambush, or the rusted crash barriers if I need to burn another area of discovery.
Of course, yeah. So so it sounds like what you're looking to do as your action is make an impact. So, for example, in this case, you're using your environment and you're trying to do one of the takedowns
close
alongside
takedown.
that. So, close takedown. So you're going to be rolling at +3, but you will be revealed. Although, if you use the lights, then that would counteract that. Because lights vanish attached to it. So as a result, let's use that as an example. Let's use the thing that I set up. So you sort of give the signal to my crew, we hit the lights, and you attempt to do a takedown alongside a bunch of them becoming stunned, and also you've got this blinding sort of burst, which means people don't see you doing what you otherwise would do. First things first, where would you like to put the stunned application? So, for example, you said you wanted them scattered in particular.
Yeah.
You did actually specifically say that. My apologies. So that would make sense to use the other one then. Perhaps you signal to the crew with the like Duke, that is, who throws the thing in just as you sort of get in position. So who would you like to apply the intimidated to? Who would you like to apply scattered to? And what are you?
So I think intimidation should go to the leaders, the officers, having them off their game.
Yeah.
And then scattered, maybe just the flamers, because, well, remind me how scattered works. Like, I can just target one of them, and they count as a 4 instead of an 8 or a 12, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when they become scattered, that's the thing that we use as the little marker for it. When they become scattered, rather than them working together, they're all kind of like split apart and like, not even really paying attention.
So then I would want to take down one of the flamer units.
That's it. Okay. Because you're using a local area discovery, you've got 3d6.
Well, that's pretty good. That's 11 on the dice.
Beautiful. Okay. So we would add the 4 that comes from your crew, but we take away the 4 that's from the flamer because they're scattered. So as a result, you take down one of the flamers. So because you used a close takedown, you are nonetheless you are revealed. So please describe to me how this all goes off.
Yeah. So the explosion pops. In the immediate moment, the officers are unable to rally anyone or officer singular is unable to rally anyone because they're like, they duck, they cover their head because there's an explosion. They're intimidated by that. In the panic, the uncoordinated flamethrower troopers run in 3 different directions. One of them directly into us. We dive at them from behind trees, put them in chokeholds or punch them or whatever. And I guess we have flamethrowers now? I don't know. Yeah. And then we, take at least partial cover of some sort, hopefully behind the trees again, but...
Okay, yeah, cool. So, I mean, nonetheless, as you sort of grab this flamer and you sort of knock them out by whatever means, chokehold or whatever, it could well be that the shout of their comrade is sort of has the other 2 spot you. They shout out like, they're over there! And everyone sort of turns and you are revealed. You are now relatively vulnerable. Now this is an important thing because it is now their turn. So the officer is still here, hasn't disappeared yet, which means, the rest of them are kind of on it. And that means that because there's 4 actions have passed, we now do their turn. So their turn has 3 different steps to it. The first one is that we have their objective goes off. Now, one of the things that I didn't want to overwhelm you, so I didn't sort of go into it too much, but the White Fist objective in this is destroy remains. So we have a number of different untouched greenery sections. These are set up based on a combination of how many of us there are and a combination of like the difficulty of the the difficulty of the encounter. And what this means is that as they achieve their objective, they're able to kind of like get rid of the woodland that remains, and they're sort of like achieving more and more of this place is being chopped down, and we're trying to stop that from happening. So the first thing that happens on their turn is the first one, they proceed with their objective by 1 more step. Second thing that happens is we add a local area discovery. So because things have passed, time has passed, we've discovered something else, we notice something about our surroundings, and we're able to make use of this further down the line. So what are we adding? What do we think we would see amongst everything?
Wood chippers.
Okay, wood chippers is cool.
All right, not foreshadowing anything there, but...
All right, so we've got wood chippers, and they have already begun. Perhaps that's it. One of those civilians that was in the midst of working has just sort of like chopped down a bit and has started firing up the wood chipper in order to sort of start putting the detritus and such inside. This progression has happened. The last section of their turn is where you activate the special abilities of the highest of the enemy types. So in this case, it's the Flamer, because the Officer counts as last because their whole thing is making them act quicker. So the Flamer is rank 4, that's the highest of all the rest. So their special ability is the one that's activated. On top of that, we have the minimum fight rating, and that is 5, and we times it by the highest quantity of the enemies that are present. So in this case, the hostile civilians have 3 people. So 5 times 3 makes 15, and every 5 within the number that's made, they activate their ability 1 time. So in this case, they get 3 activations that happen. We jump to their special ability. As you mentioned before, it's Fwoosh. And Fwoosh, Fwoosh is basically where any clustered crew that has 2 characters become hit. Otherwise, the most recent crew to have acted chooses whether they are going to become ignited or clustered. So only one of us is revealed.
Right.
And that is Team Fireball, who, it seems, are very accurately named.
Yeah, I may have set myself up for that.
Yeah. So, you take down one of these flamers and they immediately turn on you. Do you feel that ignited or clustered is the one that you want to go for?
Which one of those sounds worse? I think for now I'll just take clustered. We all, dive out of the way of the fire, and happens to be that we are diving toward each other.
Yeah, okay. So, you become clustered. You're trapped in your area. Now, the next thing that happens is, because it's alternating, they can't target someone else, so as a result, they achieve their objective again. So, meanwhile, while this is all going on, another bit of untouched greenery is cut down. Our efforts to sort of prevent this place from being too much damaged are becoming slimmer. And then the last one is they're activated again. You're the only one that's revealed, which means you're the only one that they can target. So as a result, we see we basically have any crew that is clustered has 2 people become hit. So in your case, you've chosen clustered, and thus 2 of your people are hit by this flamethrower. So
all right, marking that.
Describe what happens.
Well, not burning to death. I'm just burning a little bit. So, happens to be the case then that Vanessa and Dr. Jack are standing just a bit more toward the front of their group, and the flamethrowers that sort of formed a V to cluster us, and then they come together and light our clothes on fire and do some burns on the arms and whatnot. And stop, drop, and roll.
That's fair, yeah.
And so we're out of commission for a little bit.
That makes sense. Okay, so with that in mind, it circles back around. I went first last time, so I'll go again. So we're still in cover. We managed to set up this thing. We're sort of ready to hit the lights, as it were. And I think we're going to make use of that now. We have the blinding logging vehicle lights, and I think we're going to try and combine that with a takedown. So if we make use of this in order to do a similar to yours, where you're doing a close takedown, and so as a result get an extra bonus to your dice, and then on top of that also stun something else. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim to take down the riot trooper and then stun the troopers. So we're going to put that there. So the troopers are stunned. The riot trooper, this will be a quiet attempt because because we have vanish as a part of the ability thing. Roll my 3 dice, and I've rolled a 5 and 2 1s. That is horrible.
Well, could be worse.
It could be worse. I at least rolled the 5. So that means that we've got ourselves 7. It's a success at least. So we add our 4, we take away the riot troopers 3. That's still 8. So as a result, riot trooper is down. We lower the minimum fight rating by 1, and finally we apply the things to it. Now applied vanish to this one, so as a result, we're still hidden. We don't get seen, but nonetheless, to be honest, I really don't want, since you're the only one that's visible, I don't want you to sort of get picked on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that my folks become revealed. We're certain that we're going to be blinded. Everyone's going to be blinded by the lights. But then we don't consider that by doing a close takedown, we're revealed anyway. So we are there in this bright light, sort of like wailing on this riot trooper, and as a result, we become visible. So now it's the two of us out in the open. Everyone's sort of like turned to look at us. What are the other crews going to do? I think
Sebastian I went next.
next.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm going to use Moss. They have specialty with tactics, and I think they've noticed the turrets, and I think I'd like to affect status to try and get those trapped. Because if those fire on us, we are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Okay, cool. So
because I get +1 for the fact that they have tactics, and also because they have a personality discovery, being that they really would like to impress Duke, who is right there. So I can roll a bunch. Hopefully this works.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, the crush one's kind of OP. They're always right there.
Right, yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so that is a 6, a 5, and a 1, being 13. Plus the 1 that I get from tactics. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you, so basically you were able to apply it to them. It was trapped, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I want to trap the turret.
Okay. My apologies. I completely forgot about that. It is immune to status and positioning effects. So that means that actually you're not able to trap it, but it is very vulnerable to elemental effects. So fire or electricity or anything like that is very
okay.
very
So in that case, maybe I just kind of like rip off an outer plate to expose the inside or something, and then be like, okay, now you can get it.
Absolutely. Okay, so cool. Okay, so so you've done this. It was successful. Oh no, have you rolled? Yeah, you did roll, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a 13.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, it's flawless. It's absolutely perfectly went perfectly. So who's going to follow this up? Is it Quinn?
I have like 3 different ideas. Decisions are so hard. The flamers are still scattered, right, from the one scatter, but I think I want to follow up on what I set up last time with the stack of logs. So I think I'll scatter. There's the most of the civilians, even though they're not super difficult to deal with. I know I do want to get the flamers wet. I still think that that's the funniest. They work with fire, and if I
would certainly appreciate that.
Get them wet. I think that would be really nice and helpful. So maybe get them wet and the civil. I think my overall goal here is to just like start slowly, like I already mentioned, kind of getting the civilians. Again, in a weird, like, okay, we don't want them dead, but we do want them out of the way, so let's just try and get them gone.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to do, like,
so,
wet to the flamethrowers and intimidated to the civilians, or stunned?
I think I have to use the, since I'm following up on the local area discovery from last time, like, as the stack of logs is being scattered, because I do think I want to attack as well.
Okay.
At this point.
Yep, so it sounds like you're using your environment and then you're doing a takedown roll as a part of that. So who are you aiming for with your takedown?
I mean, while the flamers are actually, it might be best to go after them while they are being targeted, since they are one of our more intense enemies, and we've clearly just seen what they can do to one of our crews. So I think I will get them wet, and then try and do a close takedown on one of them.
And who are you scattering? Are you scattering the civilians?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're the largest group, so I think that makes sense to split them up.
Let's see what you got.
10.
Oh, amazing.
All
Okay. So, because their scattered thing lowers them to 4, and it's your crew of 4 also get 4. That means it's just the roll. So
Cancel each other
your
out.
successful, your successful attack is just straight up, completely successful. So you take another one down. So describe this to me. How do you do this?
I think it's just the chaos. Like, the stack of logs goes rolling away. The civilians see this, and like we already established, they're not getting paid enough to be here or doing this anyway. They start to scatter and just run very uncoordinated and unorganized, and the flamers are already scattered, so they were already getting a little bit disorganized, and then the addition of even more chaos, don't even see us. We come out of being hidden and just similar to before, grab one of them and take them down from behind.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so we are over to you, Alex.
Yeah. So I'm in a bit of trouble. I still got one flamethrower squad bearing down on me. Can I push them in the wood chipper?
It's there.
It's so there.
Yeah. Just calling to you.
Feed me. Could also turn and go for the officer. Just go in a different
they
direction.
are running. So when it's their turn, they will have run another sort of amount and will have escaped. So they're about to leave the scene.
Okay, I would like to prevent that.
Okay.
I would like to catch them and not let them run away.
Okay, either you can try and make them surrender, which is more difficult when there's lots of other types. So it's more difficult based on whatever the minimum fight rating is.
Right.
In this case, it's still 4. So they're not going to surrender to you when they've got allies around them. Basically, is how it works. So, or alternatively, you can just take them down.
Yeah, I think like if they're trying to run away, I guess it's a ranged takedown.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, he's just one dude, so it shouldn't be too hard. I don't have a 3d6 for anything, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
So 2d6 plus 4 for
plus 3.
Plus 3.
Yeah, because the officers only got rank 1 because
right.
they're not really. Yeah.
So that's 9.
Okay, so you succeed, but something happens in the
Yes.
process. So have a think about that. The good news is, because you have succeeded, this not only lowers the minimum fight rating because it takes out that round, but on top of that, we're now back to the point where it's every 5 actions.
Yeah,
we have
slows
strike.
them down a lot, which is good.
Yeah, so this is really good because it means that we don't have to kind of worry about it. It's not going to go off immediately. We have another action before it happens.
Can we say that as this is happening, one of my people who has been flamethrowered is a little emotionally overwhelmed?
Yeah, 100%.
It seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks, yeah.
Dr. Jack, being a doctor, knowing a lot about medical conditions, realizes that these burns are pretty bad, and he needs to be very careful not to get them infected or anything. And this is distressing him in a sort of a germophobic kind of way.
Yeah, okay.
And then back to you, I think, because they don't get
Dr. Jack is not having a good day.
Yeah.
Never really a good day when you get flamethrowered.
No.
No, I don't think so. Okay, so it's back round to me. I think this would seem to me to be a perfect opportunity to try and take out that auto turret before it goes off. I really don't want that thing happening, so we're just going to deal with that before it happens. Since you've trapped it, we are adding 3 to the chance to apply an elemental effect. It's very vulnerable to those, So as a result, we got technical. Raphael is good at technical. I think that's probably pretty accurate. We're going to go with. I think he's going to rush over to it and try and sort of short out its electrical sensors and things like that, and see about like making it kind of become electrified. So I'm trying to apply an effect. I'm applying elements. I have a technical specialty, which means I gain a +1, but I do not have personality discovery. So I am rolling 2d6. I've rolled a 5 and a 2, so that's a 7. But because of the effect that was already on it, we're adding 3 to that, so that brings it up to a 10. So thank you very much for that little assistance there. It becomes electrified with a 10, so when things are electrified, if it is a partial success, then the target becomes stunned, so it's temporarily prevented from doing anything. If it is fully successful, then it is removed. It's considered a very lethal removal, but nonetheless, in this case, it's a turret, so it's no big deal. Yeah. So it is. There's a flash, some sparks go off, probably a little poof of smoke, and the whole thing shuts down. So that is out of there. So it is now their turn. We come back around to them. We can't have the flamer going off again because the flavors went last time. So as a result, we're going to be looking at someone else. So we'll do this in order.
I don't want to interrupt and do something that's going to be bad for me, but it does technically say on the sheet still that I'm hidden, and I think it should say revealed because I did a close takedown.
You're absolutely right.
Pointing out the rules when the rules are against me, but
Yeah, well, there you go.
Hey, you know what? If anything happens in this section now, you brought it on yourself.
Yeah.
So
gotta be honest.
I did the close takedown, so you got to take the consequences with the benefits. So
the good news is that I would like to assume that you're being very community minded and you just don't want Alex to take another big beating.
Yes.
That's the real reason.
I'll join you in revealing myself.
Save
yeah.
us.
So yeah. So what that means is we are jumping back to their whole thing. The first thing that we do is we add another local area discovery. So what else do we notice in our environment we might be able to take advantage of? Does anything jump out at anybody?
I had an idea that since we have a chemist with us who we already saw do something very cool with the environment, maybe as they are destroying the landscape and the nature around, we see that there are some plants that are growing that potentially the chemist could grab and mix with something and make another kind of cool effect.
Okay, cool. Alright, so let's have a think. How would you describe that? So
I think it's interesting because I think it's like I'm thinking of something for another person's character, so I don't know how. This one with awareness is Vera. Or no, the chemist. Sorry, it's Duke.
Yeah, Duke could be the chemist. I was planning to have Vera act because I haven't given her a turn yet, but honestly, Duke is useful, so I can.
That's the thing about chemistry is usually it's like a slow thing that you do in a lab.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean, I think of it as like a, kind of throw some explosives in a bottle, shake it, and then throw it. I don't know. I haven't done chemistry
I mean,
since
that
I
is
was
what you did with the glass. Was very throw it in a bottle, shake it, throw.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if there's a way to let you do something like that again because that was really cool.
Yeah, the two schools of chemistry of like slow, careful in the lab and shove it in a pipe and throw. So love that. Okay, so something cool that you could do something along those lines with. I mean, to be honest, it could be as simple as like something that has a very powerful allergic response associated to it.
There might be mushrooms and spores or something.
Yeah,
or like gets people's eyes or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hallucinogenic mushrooms, fantastic. So as we're sort of tumbling around and fighting with the white fists, one of us notices this spring of hallucinogenic mushrooms. Hopefully not a ring.
I was gonna say push them into the ring and then just.
Yeah, that's it. Off to the Fae with you. So we know this is here. The next part is they continue with their objective. So they're now halfway through. They've managed to, perhaps it's a case of the flamers, as they flamed around the place, managed to set a bunch of the woodland on fire. The fire is spreading through it. Things are getting more and more drastic. If we're going to be able to save this copse of woodland, then we're going to need to act as quick as we can and finish this while we still can. And so we are. The last part is where they have their turn. So the highest ranked enemy we have that isn't the flamer is the trooper. The auto turret's gone. The flamer that went last time. Riot trooper's gone. And the trooper's special ability is grab weapon. And what that means is it grabs basically the ability of any fully defeated enemy and uses it one time, and then that's done for good. So in this case, we'll probably say it's the riot trooper. So we're going to strike through that. We're now not able to recover their equipment because the troopers made use of it instead and botched it up in some way. And they now apply their effect. So the troopers are individually weak, but their kind of like last-ditch efforts can be quite unpredictable. So the first thing they do is they create a cover point. And cover points can be used by us, but also can be used by, or more often are used by our opponents. And they just kind of create it makes them a little bit more difficult to take down. So we'll add this in. So we now, because there's less of them, the most that are there is the hostile civilians, that's 3. We times it by the minimum fight rating, which is 3. Oh god, my brain's gone dead, I apologize. What is 3 times 3? It's the simplest sum in the world.
You can do it, I believe in you.
Oh god, it's 12. Thank you.
It's 9.
So, it's 9. See, so fun fact, I am actually dyscalculic, which is very interesting.
That's why I wasn't volunteering to offer anything. I was like, I'm not going to try it.
Hey, good job designing a game anyway.
I have a mini calculator in front of me at all times, just in case. But yeah, so thank you. It means I have to double check all my numbers.
You should anyway. Let's. Anyway.
So it is 9. It is 9. There is only one 5 in 9, which means they only activate once. So in this case, they create some cover. Nothing else happens. We've managed to sort of beat them back to the point where they only activate their power one time. So they're done. It's back around to us. I had my turn last time, which means it is Quinn, I believe.
Yeah.
No? Or Sebastian?
Here, Sebastian.
Yeah, I think it was Sebastian.
Yeah, so, sorry, did the hallucinogenic mushroom thing already happen, or was that just like a thing that we talked about?
It's added, so you can make use of it.
We know they exist.
They're there, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's use that. I'll move Duke up. Yeah, alright, in that case, yeah, let's use the mushrooms. They can... I want to say, I don't know, maybe they have like some kind of strange mixture in a vial. If I pour them over the mushroom, it might kind of speed up whatever process causes them to exude spores and get them towards our foes. I'm not sure if that's like apply elements or affect status.
So what was the impact you wanted to have, sorry?
Disorientation and hallucinogenic, with the hallucinogenic mushrooms. So
yeah, okay, cool. So there's a couple of options you could have.
Distracted, possibly.
Yeah, distracted seems like an obvious one. I think, potentially you could just do stunned as well, or
distracted and smoke.
Could even
because it's like of.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, I could do. I think I'll do stunned and smoke.
And what have you turned them into?
I don't know if I've turned them into anything. I think maybe they just maybe they just experience kind of disorienting.
She turned me into a toad.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So are we just like a handful of hallucinogenic
Yeah.
mushrooms?
Do I need to roll for that?
Yep. So it is a get creative roll.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 6. So I get a consequence, but I will pass.
Correct. Just about.
Got a little high on your own supply there.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, maybe I do get high on my own supply. The shrooms.
Maybe that's like emotionally overwhelmed, bad trip, like.
Yeah, let's go for that. That could be fun.
Or it could be that perhaps, you know, maybe Duke has a bit of a problem, you know? Maybe that's a hardship. Maybe it's, you know, they're particularly eager to go for those shrooms, right?
Yeah.
More than your average chemist. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, have we had hardship yet? I don't remember. I can do a hardship.
Yeah, your crew hasn't yet, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one per crew, so I guess I could still do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone okay if I say maybe, maybe my chemist has had, has gone out of their way to not expose themselves to these mushrooms before, and they think that actually, oh, well, I'm a trained chemist, it's been years since I had to deal with these, I think it'll be fine. And turns out that they're still susceptible to the effect of the mushrooms.
Yeah, I'm good with that, yeah.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So over to you then, Quinn.
I feel like I just want to get rid of that last flamer. I'm trying to think of something more creative, but I feel like just we're in takedown. Like looking at the board, it felt like there were so many, and now it's like,
we're whittling them down. Yeah.
There's not. We're really taking these guys down. So I think I'll try and just take out that last one. I'm gonna put my dice right here. So it's just 2d6.
Therefore, you gain 4, so it's kind of
just a wash there. Roll. That is 8.
Okay, so you do succeed, but what happens as a result?
See, because now I'm revealed, so the consequences can be different.
Mm-hmm.
I can't activate an existing hardship because I don't have one, but I can. It is 1 per crew, so I can create one.
That's it.
For my crew as well. Let's see. I mean, the person who I had act here was Danny, and they do have the command specialty. And I mean, my background on this of having command, I mean, they were a college student, so their command comes from doing theater, and like learning, like they got their voice that way. It's not like a military type of command or anything like that. And I think that what happens here is, again, since I'd kind of written this whole crew to be a little on the younger side, a little on the less experienced, I don't know how much combat any of them have had, even with that, like, command as the specialty. So I think that the hardship might just be getting really distressed about realizing, like, oh god, like, we have to, like, hurt people and, like, we might kill people doing this, and just a little bit overwhelmed. But that might leave a lasting impact of just the realization of how intense this is going to be.
Yeah, so it could be something like, I wasn't ready for the real thing.
Yeah.
I'll have a think about the wording, add it to their sheet. Can we finish this off before they get another turn? Let's see what we can do. It's round to you, Alex.
Yeah, so troopers are the only real problem at this point still, right? It's just them and the civilians. Could I leverage this? Hear me out. Could I leverage the fact that some of them are stunned to push them into the wood chipper?
I'm good with that.
I mean, it seems like there's nothing against you doing it. So if that's how you wanna do it, then go for it. I mean, you're in a way you wouldn't need to use the wood chipper so much as you could use
the stun. Yeah,
you could use the mushrooms
consume
and
that.
the stun and that, and then use the takedown maneuver, and the wood chippers would then remain to be used again. It's just a narrative element.
Yeah, let's go for that. That gives me the 3d6, right? Fantastic. Yeah. And it's just 4v4. So, but hey, that's 14. So.
Nice.
Okay, amazing. That is, no problem at all. So you take one of them down. Describe this.
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail, but like.
Yeah.
There's this big puff of green smoke, and they kind of come wobbling out of it, a little bit stunned, and then my crew just sort of like from off camera as they're as they're in a daze, tackles them to the side, and just kicks and pushes them a bunch. They can't they're not managing to level their flamethrowers or whatever other weapons they have because we're just in a tight melee with them, and they don't have their full faculties. And yeah, when they get to the wood chipper, they trip, and that is that for them.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the smoke effect means that normally it's two adjacent enemies, but they're the only ones left. Two enemies are now at -3 because they can't see properly, surrounded by this cloud of smoke. So as a result, it's going to be ridiculously easy to sort of finish off. Since it is back round to me, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to straight up intimidate the civilians, because the troopers aren't going to be able to have their go because they're stunned. So when it's the strike through, stunned means we remove stunned, and instead what they would have done doesn't happen. So I'm gonna go straight for the intimidation roll. Let's have a look at this. Who's my best bet? I think Pamela is gonna be up first. She's kind of always well known as kind of like the bossy mum type. Has her awareness specialty because she's so used to looking out for sort of like her kids or other people's kids or whatever else, and so is sort of as they're sort of like going around in this hallucinogenic smoke, and they're one of them just falls like flat in their face and everything else. They just hear this shouting voice through this hallucinogen of this incredibly motherly sort of you kids get out of there, go on, go, and we see if they're just like in their state are just like, okay, I'm running.
Just point at like the cloud of red mist and just be like, you see that?
Absolutely. So I'm going to use her personality discovery, and what is it? It's the my kids aren't the only ones getting the better world. So she wants to protect this place, and these people just need to pack it in. So I'm going to roll these dice. We've got 7, 8, 9, but like they're at -3. There's no sort of defense. We add the 4. Oh no, we don't, because it's an defense. Sorry, so we don't add the 4, but nonetheless, they don't have any defense whatsoever. So it is just a straight up. They are running. There is no kind of. So these civilians, at the sight of this, the hallucinogens taking root and everything else, they're just start going for it. So it is now the next turn of our opponents. Truth be told, I would normally sort of say, we create a local area discovery, we sort of have their objective go off and everything like that. But at this stage, I think they are completely not able to fight back. There is no...
Yeah.
So yes, if you want to determine whether or not you would take them down or you would scare them off or whatever you would do, I think at this point that just kind of happens. So since it would be your turn, take the wheel. How do we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think I am going to KO them. I mean, so I want to use Vera. She hasn't done a lot yet, so she's kind of like the punk one who I described, having, lots of piercings and a leather jacket. I think she just wants to go up and punch them in the face, because, they're just, I mean, not because they need, not because, like, she necessarily needs to, but because, she just feels good to do that. Yeah, let's just go punch. Yeah, so that's a close takedown, I think. So you said that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm more than happy for you to not need to worry about rolling it. So honestly, she'll punch. She'll punch them, and then if there's one left, then give them a kick as well. But yeah, good. Okay, so we've managed to overcome our opponents. We've managed to prevent the untouched greenery from being, completely decimated. We determine at the ending of this scenario what the ramifications are. So on page 27, we have the kind of ending sort of description. So for example, if you manage to save more than half of the untouched greenery or less than half of the untouched greenery, then we have a description that tells us what the results are. Now, in this case, we have saved exactly half of the untouched greenery, so I'm gonna say that counts as more than. It is, it's not less than half, so therefore it's the other. So it says, if you manage to save more than half of the untouched greenery, each crew rummages through the supplies the White Fist left behind, rolling on the general equipment table with the option to adjust the result up or down by 1. In addition, the characters were brought together by what they saved, and a bond can be developed between two characters that have a personality discovery. While the White Fists have left a scar on this place, there's more than enough old growth remaining that with time and guardianship, this place will flourish.
Okay.
So, I think it would make sense to first do the bond. If we determine a bond that has developed between two characters, this doesn't have to be just within your crew. It can be between people across crews. But yeah, have a think about the characters that you have. You have there are a number of them. Hardships also count as a type of personality discovery, so you can also use that. And think about the way that a bond develops between characters. So,
I think I'm just going to say simply that Dr. Jack and Vanessa have a bond over their shared trauma of getting flamethrowered. They'll have a talk about it.
That's
but
sorry, who was it, Quinn? Who is it on your crew that suggested that Duke do the thing with the mushrooms?
I think it was technically Valentina was the one who'd taken the action right before that, so I think that she would have been the one, but she doesn't have a personality discovery. She's the only one on my team who doesn't have a personality discovery or a hardship.
Oh, okay. Well, are you interested in pairing someone up with Duke so then we can have a kind of messy queer situation because Moss has a crush on Duke, but maybe Duke has an affinity for someone who's on your crew instead?
Oh, 100%. I may or may not have, drawn out diagrams of how I anticipate all of the... Look, it's a stereotype a little bit, but this is based on my actual friend group where everyone has indeed dated everyone else or is currently actively dating everyone else. But yeah, I think inner crew would be hilarious as well. Maybe Soul, because they're my technical. I feel like the tech and the chemistry can have a bit of a bond there of think of what we could create together if we combine the technical knowledge and the chemistry.
Yes.
We can blow up so many things.
Yeah, let's do scientist tomfoolery.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at this as well, and I'm thinking to myself, Nina is scavenging and has their personality discovery of in a world where you can the best surprise of abundance, and you've also got Marty, who's got I'm resourceful and always looking for ways to help others. And I think possibly the resourcefulness that was seen in this, in using a variety of our environments in order to gain advantage over everything, I think they possibly after the combat, they're just sort of talking about, or even just gushing about and that was really cool how this happened, and that was really cool how they made use of this in order to have the logs rolled and all that sort of thing, and the way the lights went off, and they just kind of, I think, end up having their own little sort of chat about it afterwards, and very animated kind of thing. So they become I'm going to go with chatterboxes. So that's great. So we've once you've added these bonds in, we are going to jump briefly to page 25, where the equipment is. So we'll be recovering some kind of equipment that is here, and we'll determine what we find. So somebody is going to make a roll on the table. Maybe Alex, if you wanted to have a go at this one. So roll me a d6 and we'll see what we get, and then we can decide.
Right, so because we did good. So I rolled a 4, so I could have a 3, 4, or 5.
Exactly. So our options here, if we jump to page 25, you can see for yourself, our options here are, on the 4, we have social specialty equipment. This means that we describe what it is and in what way it helps someone's social specialty to gain +2, or physical specialty equipment, which is the same sort of thing, but particularly boosting a physical specialty of some kind, or finally a flare gun, which means that you would sort of fire it in the air, and whatever situation you're about to be moving into, it lowers the difficulty of that situation because they're like, someone's in trouble, one of our flares has gone off, and
I'm
they
looking
race
at
off
that.
to go see who's in trouble, and we're like,
I'm looking at the flare gun.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so as a result, you would then add that flare gun to one of your character's sheets.
I'll give it to Del.
So you're then able to kind of go, okay, this character's got it, they're the ones that are using it. And then we will move to winning and moving on. We know that we've successfully saved this place, only just, but it's got just enough to be able to regrow over time, and it's going to be able to survive. So if we jump to page, I think it's 12, then that is the winning and moving on section. And this is where we basically, after the fact, after we settle down after combat, we sort of stop for a moment. We sort of tend our wounds. We connect with each other. We learn about each other from what we've experienced, and in general try and sort of make ourselves ready for what comes next. The recovery, there's a list of recovery actions here. Each character gets to do one. Obviously, there are a lot of us, so as a result, we may not want every single character.
I think for time,
but if we, exactly, just for time alone, we'll pick a couple that each crew does, and as a result, like, we can sort of say, I think it would be a particularly interesting scene if this were to happen, and that sort of thing. So, have a look through, pick a couple out, and see what you think your two of your crew would get up to as we sort of recover, salvage some equipment, and that sort of thing.
I'm noticing right away that the patch up action,
yes,
I can do, since I have medical on Dr. Jack, I can do 2 people. Let's see, without requiring a roll, So I will say, selfless guy. He'll fix Vanessa's burns, and then somebody else who's hit. Ash is the other one who's hit. He'll leave himself for later.
I'm trying to see. Actually, you know what? Danny has the hardship. I wasn't ready for the real thing. And I think Pamela is going to take some time and just sort of take Danny aside and be like, hey, hon, come on, it's all right. I saw it was getting pretty shaken up at the end there, but this have to remember that it was due to our actions, that we were able to save this place, and okay, you weren't ready, but you did it. It's gonna be okay, and just take that time to sort of soothe them, to deactivate that hardship, so to speak. Could be activated again in a future combat, but nonetheless, for the moment, it's deactivated. Won't put any negatives on.
Nice. I mean, I was thinking of doing a personality discovery for them, actually, to kind of go along with the, you get the hardship and the personality discovery. You learn something about yourself through the hardship, so I think that really works nicely, that they've got this kind of comforting figure coming in and talking to them and talking them through it. And I think out of that, I think the personality discovery is going to be, you don't always need to be ready. Sometimes you have to do the right thing even when you don't feel ready for it.
Yeah, I love that.
I think Moss is going to try and assist Duke with their mushroom problem, probably not knowing that Duke already has plans about the mushrooms to hang out with Sol instead. I guess, sorry, the soothe thing would probably be more appropriate for Moss to do, I think. Yeah, but I think Vera would probably help whoever it was on your crew, Alex, help salvage the equipment, I think.
Where am I? Yeah, Del has electrical, so maybe some working together there. We could
yeah, that'd be nice.
Get something working, get a vehicle or something.
Yeah, so let's have a look at that. So salvaging equipment, you're going to be working together to do that. It requires someone who has scavenging or technical.
Okay, maybe Marty would be better to do that then.
I think,
He has it on my team.
So in this case, you're going to be basically combining your attempts. So you'll both roll 2d6 and then add the highest die that each of you roll.
Okay, let's try that.
What the result is.
So I got a 5 and a 6.
Oh, I got a 5 and a 2. So yeah, we get 11 between us then.
Well, okay, fantastic. So you are able to salvage something that you would want. This could be one of the special abilities of an enemy that you've faced. So, for example, you could manage to salvage one of the flamers, or it could be a vehicle in this case, or it could well be like a riot shield from the riot breaker. These are just examples, but yeah, you pick one, and our crew would gain it.
I mean,
great.
I do like a good flamethrower.
Yeah, let's take it.
Why don't you put that on one of your people? Because I picked up the flare gun.
The whoosh ability.
Yeah, so this has its own sort of special thing. So when you have a flamethrower yourself, you either get advantage or a minimum result of 7 for takedown actions or ignited effects versus clustered enemies. So if you can, or you could just immediately apply flammable for free. So basically what that means is if you sort of coordinate together and you can cluster them into a group, then you can use that to have very powerful ability. So yeah, flamethrower is really good. And I think, to be honest with you, it'd be particularly good if we were to go and do our final mission, because we're going and taking on a fuel refinery.
Yeah.
So, that would be...
is applicable.
I can see where that might come up.
Kaboom.
And I know we're not doing something for everyone because of time, but I do want to add one more bond to my sheet because, again, I want to make it messy and queer. And I did already kind of think through what I want them to eventually, the complicated webs and nets and all of the things. But I was also thinking of the two people who both were kind of hit the hardest, which was Danny and Ash. Kind of talking through things maybe as we travel on to the next location, and Ash, the relationship that's going to develop is going to be a queer platonic bond that they are going to have, because
fantastic.
I want to develop the web.
Very good.
Everyone can be involved, and we'll go cross teams. It could be great. I could see where we could take this in a very fun direction if we had about 7 hours.
Yes. Speaking of which, unfortunately, we had this discussion briefly in our bathroom break that I edited out. Peel back the curtain for the audience. We are coming up on our recording time, unfortunately, so we're not going to get to the final mission in this recording. But nonetheless, it's been a very good time. Laurie, if you have any bit of narration you want to do as we ride off into the sunrise, I guess, as we discussed earlier, go ahead, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Of course. Okay, so basically what would happen next is that we would travel on. We would move on as the night comes to an end and discover a new situation of some kind, some other element of the world around us that is changing in some way, just like we found the food vans. But this time in the wilderness. And we would interact with this, we would sort of learn about it, and then nearby would be the fuel refinery. It would probably be the big clouds of smog nearby. And then we would sort of move on and try to take that down. And I think in this case, we've managed to save this forestry. As our crews sort of pack up and we've finished tending to each other and we move on, I think, as the sort of trees disperse out and we see across the fields that in scrubland and such that lead to the refinery, and we see sort of like the polluted land that comes from all the smog being churned out, I think it probably reinforces our certainty in what we need to do before we venture on to finish this. So yeah, if anybody wants to say a little final something about their crew or anything like that before we wrap it up, then now would be the time. I think personally the route arounds have very much seen the kind of ecological damage that the White Fist are doing, that they literally will just make use of the lands to however they want to, and leave it scarred and burnt if that's what it takes, and are all the more enthused to make sure that ends.
I think Team Fireball is rattled but determined after their rough first encounter here, feeling like perhaps after what they've done that there's sort of a no turning back. Once you push a couple people into a wood chipper, it's kind of like you're committed. So yeah.
I think our crews are gonna get into some kind of big romantic entanglement. It'll be really fun.
Yeah. No, I think that my crews definitely, I feel like they've grown up a little bit, again, from being college students. We all have that transition from college students out to the world where we're like, oh god. And they, normally that doesn't involve combat in the forest, but I think that they have really been hit with the reality of what's going on, and that will drive them closer to each other and closer to some of the other teams that they're working with, and big romantic entanglement web for sure.
Very good. The curtain falls, right? That's about everything. Thank you, Laurie, for the game. Bravo.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Of course. Pleasure's all ours. Real quick before we get into our little discussion to wind things down, where can folks pick up the game?
Sure. So the game is currently live on BackerKit. I'm very pleased to say that we're now at 300 times our goal. So we're very pleased with the result. And we're building towards our next stretch goal. We've got a number of different sort of guest writers that have made special scenarios, much like this one, that folks can go through. So come check it all out on BackerKit. We look for Why We Fight, otherwise feel free to jump on any of our social media under SDR Games, or otherwise our website, which is sdrgames.studio. And you should be able to find all the information you need. We also have a Discord. You're more than welcome to jump in and chat about the adventures your crews have gone on or anything else. We'd love sort of meeting new people and building that community. So come say hi.
Awesome. Excellent. And then the last thing we like to do before we, wind down here is just have a brief little discussion of game design. I thought it was excellent. I was worried a little bit going into it because I had never played a GM-less game before. Not worried, I guess, but just like, apprehensive, nervous, whatever you want to call it. Just about doing a new thing, right? And it worked surprisingly well. I'm wondering how you came to the decision to make it GM-less and format things the way you did.
Sure. So, originally the game started out purely as a solo game where you are just playing your crew and you go on your adventures and you're fighting back against the White Fist and everything else. And the more that we sort of played it and developed it, the more we realized that, this is a game about community. This is a game about people, and their crews like working together to overcome something. And it made it really important to us that we make that space and find a way that we can create a game that's also able to be multiplayer, that's also able to have multiple crews that also interact and have their bonds and their messy relationships and everything else build up amongst each other. And the way that you interact and work together is absolutely crucial to the narrative of building a better future, not just because we have to, but because it's something that we can make for each other as much as just for ourselves. So I think it was something that ended up having to be, GM-less stuff means that you have the opportunity to build a story together, and that sort of working together instead of one person telling you a story gives you so much more agency over what you want to come out of the story. We were really, really excited to explore that, and we've worked really hard on trying to make it as seamless as we can. So I'm really glad that you had such a good first experience with it.
Absolutely. No, I love it when like a game, like, mechanics are fun. They're fun to talk about, but like when they exist for like a clear thematic reason, and it resonates well. And so that makes a lot of sense. And I get why you did that. It definitely works.
Thank you.
Quinn or Sebastian, any questions or to ask?
I didn't have any questions, but no, I did want to say, like, I really enjoyed playing this game. I like that there are a range of different status effects, and I like how the different elements kind of combined together, and I found that the information was laid out in a way that was really easy to find. Like, the little icons were really useful. So, yeah, honestly, good job. Thank you. And, and thank you for the opportunity to play this game. It's been really fun.
A pleasure to introduce it to anyone, truth be told. I'm really glad you said about the icons and such. We originally came from kind of the board game scene, and if there's one thing that board games do well, it's icons that refer to stuff. And,
for sure.
You know, coming from a sort of past of making rule books that kind of have to have as few words as possible, it means that we got really good at kind of being able to portray things in such a way that people can intuitively work out, like, oh, this refers to this is in response to this, and these lead on in this way. Obviously, it takes a lot of playtesting to make sure it works for as many people as possible. But I think our past experience in board games really helped us make that shine. So I'm really glad it worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any mechanical questions. I thought it was a ton of fun, and I'm not normally a big narrative game person. I like the role play, and so when I saw it's like, oh, you're playing like a crew instead of a character, that's really interesting. But it's really fun. Again, I can really see the opportunity where, like, I already have all my crew's relationships in my head, and then going back and forth with each other. I got way more invested in my crew than I thought that I would when I was like putting them together. So I think that you have really good mechanics that encourage that. I guess my question, which probably won't mean anything now since the game, I don't have access to the full game, but when I do get it, because I have backed it, what would be your personal favorite like scenario or something for me to dive into when I get the game for myself and play it with my friends?
Okay, amazing. So personally, I'm a big fan of the core game, hence it being the core game, and it is very much all about working with prompts and building off of it to create your own spin on something. Unfortunately, that means that when it comes to saying what's the best specialty, or not specialty, what's the best scenario, there isn't one, because you literally make them yourself as you go. But that is particularly, I think that's the thing that I would say look forward to, because given what I've seen today and the way that you play, I think you're really going to enjoy it. I think you're going to have a great time with it. So I think in terms of direct action, I really have a soft spot for the non-combat situations that you potentially come across. Like, I randomly rolled today and we came across this one. It's a great one. I really love it. But the non-combat ones where you just like come across like a hospital that's been sort of set up in the midst of nowhere, you have to kind of like try and fix parts of it and help them out. And sometimes it goes right, and other times it goes horribly wrong. And trying to sort of help folks on your way is I think a really important part of the game as a whole, and as part of the setting, because it's not all just about, punching fascists back into history. It's also about trying to make things a little bit better for everyone. And those non-combat bits give you that chance to explore your characters in a more personable kind of way. I look forward to hearing from you in regards to how you find them.
Yeah, thank you. No, whenever I get a chance to talk to anyone who's designed a game, I was like, what's your favorite part of it? Because I am excited and looking forward to playing more and getting to explore more of the scenarios and different things you can do with the game. It seems like there's a lot of different options. And again, I could see myself continuing going with this crew, so.
Well, yeah, please do. I look forward to hearing the continued adventures of the Pride Posse. So.
Well, excellent. That's fantastic. Last thing before we start wrapping up here, as we begin to run out of time, Quinn and Sebastian, just take a second, plug your own stuff. Links will be in the description for everybody, of course, but go ahead, tell us what you got going on.
Hey everybody, I'm Quinn. You can find me on Blue Sky and Blue Sky only at QuinnBeckham27. I am an actual play performer and game master. I kind of bounce around all over the place. I don't really have like one set place that I am or one set thing that I do. Right now, at the time we're filming this, I'm running a game on Saturdays. I don't know when this is released, if I will still be running that game on Saturdays. I don't have to plug any one thing in particular other than just come and watch me be in different things. Again, I bounce from channel to channel, usually live streaming on Fridays and weekends. But one other thing is I was on the creative team for my own indie TTRPG. It's called Emergent. It is a horror superhero game about high schoolers who get superpowers and have to fight eldritch monsters. It is out now on itch and on DriveThruRPG.
Maybe we'll see it in another episode at some point. Who knows? Could happen. Sebastian?
Okay, yep. Hello, everyone. I am Sebastian UA. I also am on Blue Sky, or you can find me on sebastianua.ca because despite my accent, I am based in Canada. I am constantly doing a whole bunch of stuff in the tabletop space. I am a game designer, writer, and editor. I am working on a tabletop game called Sunset with Foreteller Games. The Kickstarter page, like the pre-launch Kickstarter page is up if you feel like following that. It is a game, it's about death, but it's also about bonds, and it's about, like, I'm working on a section that's called Surrealism and Terror. So if you like that kind of thing, then please give that a follow.
All right, fantastic. Thanks again, all of you, for being here. Once again, appreciate the likes, the comments, the subscribes, all the things that make the YouTuber numbers go big. You guys know how this works. Check out all the other actual plays on this channel. If you're watching right when this goes up, our main series right now is Lancer, but we've got a bunch of other stuff from the past. So whatever you're into, we've probably played a little something that'll scratch your itch. And yeah, that'll be that. Have a good day. Goodbye.